when you got somebody like Terry who's responsible and serious, he's worth fighting for. So you got to go out there and show the cynics that you're willing to knock on doors for Terry. When you've got somebody like Phil who's responsible and serious, he's worth fighting for. So you got to get out there, show the cynics you're willing to knock on doors for Phil.
Two states, same message in what should be two shoe-in gubernatorial elections in the blue states of Virginia and New Jersey. Former President Obama hitting the campaign trail for Democrats Terry McAuliffe and Phil Murphy for their races less than 10 days away. Here to break down the polls and what they mean, pollster Justin Wallin. Justin, thanks so much for being here. So what do you make of the fact that right now in Virginia, in the gubernatorial race, it's tied up 46-46? Is that your sense of the race?
Yeah, it actually is a little bit tougher on McAuliffe, and I think, as we all know, when former President Obama shows up for your campaign, you know things aren't really going well. You need a big boost. So it looks neck and neck, but really the interesting thing is when you start to dig into the undecided, which interestingly are really breaking towards the Republican challenger here. And it's interesting to note that often in Virginia, gubernatorial campaigns break towards, or excuse me, against the president's party. So there's a little bit of gravity that's moving against McAuliffe, who had initially had a very solid lead, but that's vanishing. Now, keep in mind also, there is a third party candidate here, Princess Blanding, who's progressive. Now, when that candidate is included in polls, which are not in the current polls, but in the past, when that candidate's been included, that tears off a little bit more of McAuliffe's lead, and things start to break even more towards the Republican.
Just a real quick follow-up on Virginia, because voter enthusiasm shows Republicans almost doubling up Democrats, fired up to come to the polls. Is that in a base election, if Republicans are more enthusiastic, could that make the difference?
Yeah, it could. I mean, it's important to note that this is a different kind of election than, say, California, where there was a special election and enthusiasm kind of gave a false positive. It turned out that Democrats weren't enthusiastic about voting, but they were going to vote because they were angry. In a typical election like this, that we would expect that enthusiasm to build up turnout. And in this case, Republicans have a clear advantage.
In New Jersey, if you look at Democrat Phil Murphy, who famously said the Bill of Rights is above his pay grade, and Republican challenger Chitterelli, he's got a substantial lead. But if you look at the undecided voters are cutting 59-41 for Chitterelli. Are there enough undecided in the very blue state of New Jersey?
Yeah, there is. So first and foremost, the lead that Murphy has, it is substantial, and yet it's only a little bit above the margin of error. So the most recent polls are around a 5% margin of error. His lead is about six points. So it's not as big as it looks, but it's still substantial. But when you look at those undecided and the delta between those who are breaking for Chitterelli versus Murphy, it's substantial. So this one's neck and neck. I think it's far too close to call.
Neck and neck.
Yeah.
In New Jersey, you believe?
I do believe so. Yeah,
wow.
It's darker for Murphy than it looks.
That would be a key indicator, and I got to believe a lot of it comes down to this last set of numbers we're going to share with you. It's the decline in approval in the first three quarters in post-World War II presidencies, save for George W. Bush because of 9/11. Joe Biden's is the highest, 11-point drop since he became president. I got to believe from Murphy to McAuliffe, they're feeling that.
Yeah, it's a remarkable fall from favor, and it's really being driven by the economy and foreign policy, of course, the debacle in Afghanistan. Biden's doing okay with COVID, but if those candidates start focusing on the economy on the Republican side, I think they're really going to gain traction there. That's where the weakness is on the Democratic side.
Justin Wallin, I'm going to take away from this that you think in New Jersey it's neck and neck and tight, which means Virginia would be the same way. Man, that would be an earthquake if either of those come across the finish line come November 2nd. Justin, thanks so much for breaking it down for us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
You got it.